Hey everyone, my name is Renzo Pomsano, and I have been using Unreal Editor and 3D programs for at least 17 years now. I am as well an authorized instructor partner, and today I want to talk to you about classical portrait lighting techniques and how they can help you hopefully improve your characters when you're rendering them out. We will be utilizing Metahumans, and then we'll go into lifelink to allow you to maybe create some more realistic animations. And finally, we're going to use Sequencer to just render it all out. I'm aiming this for people that already have knowledge of Unreal Engine, so about an intermediate base. Okay? So let's get started. Our learning outcomes are the following. So we're going to identify and replicate 5 classic portrait lighting styles. So butterfly, loop, Rembrandt, split, and rim. We're going to import and configure your metahuman in Unreal. Then we're going to use lifelink to create some facial animations that are realistic. And I'm going to be using my iPhone to be able to do this. Then we're going to bring your metahuman and camera into Sequencer to link all of your animations. And finally, we'll set a render queue to render the animations out. Okay? So let's get on with it. So portrait lighting allows us to shape the subject's appearance. It will allow us to highlight contours and textures while adding some depth to your character. It will help us evoke emotions and setting the scene's tone, which is quite important when you're trying to make your character stand out. The quality of light, direction, and color, temperature contributes to the mood and visual interest of your scene. Shadows will allow us to hide or reveal parts of your model, but also will allow us to add some narrative to your character, hopefully bringing some of that attention that you are wanting. So the first lighting that we're going to talk about is butterfly lighting, and I'm sure you can see right away you have a nice little butterfly here. It creates, as the name suggests, a butterfly shape formed directly underneath your nose, and you can see it here, right? It will allow us to highlight cheekbones, and it does create a nice, elegant, symmetrical look. In this slide was also called Paramount lighting, so hence cinematic looking light. Often paired with soft, diffuse light to reduce hard shadows. So again, beauty and glamour is a really good use for it. And anything requiring a flattering or evenly lit appearance, okay? To achieve this, we put the camera, the light above the character's eye level about 3 feet. Okay? And the camera is not going to change throughout all of this, so it's going to be eye level, the camera, and then everything else it will be just the lighting changing as you see it in the next techniques. But it's 3 feet above eye level and about 45-degree angle. Then we're going to have loop lighting, and as the name suggests, it's going to create a nice loop around your nose. Okay? It will add a nice soft light into your face, and it will allow us for nice naturalistic portraits. Most photographers, I believe, use this. So in general, portrait photography and situations requiring the balance between depth and simplicity. Okay? So to create this one, you need to be about 2 feet above eye level. And again, 30 to 45-degree angle on the light. If you notice though, we started with 3 feet. Now we've moved down to 2 feet. And then Rembrandt is going to go down even 1 more feet, but let's get into that first. So Rembrandt is actually named after the Rembrandt painter. and it's known for this lighting style. It creates, as you can see, a triangular light patch under the eye, and it will allow us to always have both eyes under light, even though you have a bit of shadow on the side. It balances drama with artistic sophistication. So if you want to create some mood in your actual character or show more depth to it, this is a really good way of doing it. And it's good for dramatic or cinematic photography. And as I was saying earlier, we're going down with the light again. So we're about 1 foot above the character. And again, 45-degree angle on the overall light. And as you can see, the camera never changed position, so the camera is always the same. Next, we have split lighting. As the name suggests, it's going to cut your face in half. So one's going to be on light, one's going to be on dark. Okay? It creates a high contrast and dramatic tension. It's good for mysterious portraits, or something that you want to create, something experimental kind of lighting. So it could be that you create a monster and you want it to showcase quite well and quite dark, so this will be really good for it. How do we implement it? We're just going to put the light at about eye level and to one side. Okay? As you can see here, eye level's about here and the light's here. Last one is rim lighting. Light outlines the subject's edges, separating them from the background. Adds dimensionality and highlights the subject's silhouette, so it's really good for that. Often used in cinematic and dramatic setups. So portraits with emphasis in subject's outline, creating separation from dark or busy backgrounds. Normally you will use rim lighting alongside another lighting, so butterfly or Rembrandt or whatever you see fit. It just gives a nice effect. As you can see, you put the light behind the subject in a slightly above position. Okay. You can also use a spotlight, because I'm using a rec lighting here and it's doing evenly. But you could also use a spotlight and just highlight maybe a part of the head, which it might be the effect that you're after, really, or maybe the ears, depending. Okay? So let's start. So I'm going to open Unreal, which I already have open. Right here. And the first thing that I want to do while I'm in here is I'm going to File, New Level. I just want to start fresh. Empty level, I don't want anything on my level. One thing that I want to do is I want to change from lit to unlit for now, because there's nothing in the level. And I want to save this. So under my control drawer, I want to create a new folder. So I'm going to right click on this empty space. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this folder Maps. Okay. I'm going to save this level now. So File, Save Current Level, under Maps, and I'm going to save this as Main Level. Remember, Unreal does not like spaces, so I always do underscores. Just good practice. Then I'm going to click Save. Right, I'm going to save it all again, just in case. I like to save a lot. I don't like to overload my memory. Okay. So if I were to just close and open it again, it will go back to the default level, which I do not want. Okay. So I'm going to go into Edit, Project Settings. I'm going to go down under where it says Maps and Modes. And I want to change this to Main Level. And again, Main Level for both of them. Ooh. So every time I open the project again, it will go straight to the Main Level folder. Okay. I'm going to go back to all settings, and I also want to have full control over my light. So I'm going to go and search for auto exposure. And I'm going to click on this auto exposure and tick it off. because I really want to have full control over my lighting when we use our post-processing volume. Okay, so I'm going to close this now. Again, save all. And I'm going to go and try to bring my MetaHuman in. That's the first thing that I want to do. So I'm going to go under Quick Add. I'm going to go under Quixel Bridge. Yep. Make sure that you log in and sign in here, and then you will be able to find your MetaHuman. Okay. If you go under where it says MetaHumans, there's some already created, which is perfect for what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to be using Vivian. Okay. So when you click on the MetaHuman, all you have to do is click on download. You can start MHC if you want to edit it even further, but for this project, we don't really care about that. Our main purpose is the lighting, really. So I have already done that, and I have already downloaded it. So all I need to do is just add it to my project. So I'm going to click Add. And it takes about a minute, and then it'll be in. Okay. I'm going to save again. And one thing that I want to do before I do anything else is I want to go to my edit, plugins. I want to go and search for LiveLink. And mine it is turned on. And if it's not on yours, turn it on. I also want to go and search for render queue. And I want you to turn this to on. Render queue, movie render queue, and then movie render queue, additional render passes. Okay. And then once you've done that, just click restart now. And it won't take long to restart. There we go. I'm gonna close it, and then I feel like I'm ready now to work on it. So I'm gonna go to Content Drawer. Also, if you press Control Spacebar, it will open Content Drawer, so you don't have to keep clicking on that every time. I'm going to search for my MetaHumans. I'm going to search for Vivian, and here I'm going to see my blueprint with Vivian in it, so the character. So all I want to do is I'm going to double click on it to see how it's looking, and maybe help it load all the shaders that we needed to load. You can tell it's thinking about it. Yep, and my viewport is there, it's working, that's fine. So I'm going to go now, that you can see here, I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to drag it into my viewport. And I'm going to make sure that it's on 0, 0, 0, okay? So just click on this reset value. So now I know that I am on 0, 0, 0. Now the next thing that I want to make sure is that she's facing the right way. I want her to face the front when it's looking at the front. So let's look and see if that's happening. Remember, I'm also non-lead, or else you will not be able to see anything if it was not. It's only a dark shadow, so non-lead will help you for now. I'm going to go to my front view, and it's facing the wrong way, so I'm going to grab her. I'm going to rotate her on 90, I believe it is, minus 90. Yep, so she's facing me now. So that's all we want. Let me double check. Right view, if she's facing the right view. Okay, it works. Right. One thing that I also want to do is I want to see how tall she is. And it's really simple. As long as you are in one of these views, except for perspective, you will be able to measure things. You can see here, this is 10 centimeters. That's a meter, okay? And you can see this big box is a meter. This tiny box is 10 centimeters, okay? However, if you middle click and drag down, you can see it creates a nice ruler, okay? However, I'm struggling to measure because I'm snapping to every 10 units. I'm going to change that to 1. It's every centimeter. Again, I'm going to go to the top and click down. And I can see I'm about 171, 172. or so. So that's good. However, when I'm lighting, I want to have something physical to be able to see what I'm lighting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little box so I can use as a measuring tool. Okay. I'm going to go to add. I'm going to go to shapes. I'm going to add a cube. And I like to put it on 0, 0, 0. Make sure you press W, you're in the move tool or here to use the translate tool or move tool. And I'm going to make it, I want to be only 10 centimeters width. So 0.1 should be enough. Oh, it's not this one. Let's see, is it this one? 0.1. Yep. And it's 0.1 on the other two. And then I want it to be about a foot long. So that's about 31 centimeters, I'm guesstimating. So 0.31. That should be about a foot. Okay. So when we're lighting, I'm sure we can put it on top of the eye level. Okay. Here. And then we start measuring up. So we have 1. I'm going to press Alt and drag. 2. And 1 more. Alt and drag. 3. And that's about my eye level. So yeah. And I think it might be a bit too low. So I'm just going to drag it up a bit more. I'm going to put it right in the middle. There we go. Yeah. So at least I know now that that's about 3 feet above eye level. Then we can turn it off. 2, 1. Okay. So I'm gonna name them 1F, 2F, and 3F. Again, you can name them as you see fit. Right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna save it all again. I like to save, remember that. I'm gonna go back to my perspective mode. And you can see it looks funny with my 3 little boxes, but I know at least where to put my lights, okay? Maybe to be a bit more clearer, I'm going to select these 3. I'm going to add a folder. I'm going to go fit. And I'm going to drag them in. Okay. So I can turn it on and off as I see fit. Should we go and add the lights now? Okay. So before we do that, already done that. I want to talk a tiny bit about red lights and why are we using them, or why do I like to use them. So red lights emit lights from a rectangular surface, ideal for soft, area-based lighting effects. Larger lights usually do softer, broader illumination. Larger lights require higher intensity for consistent light. One thing that we can use with these lights is we can control the range of influence that they have, same as most lights, really. But also they have barn doors and angles. So, and you can control the length and the angle of the barn dog. So I'm sure if you've been to the theater at some point and you've seen those barn door lights that you can control and you can see where the light is going. So they're really good. So no light actually escapes. Okay. And you can also add patterns or colors to the light. As you can see here, we have our units, which for us, we're going to be using lumens. But then again, you have your attenuation radius, sort width, height, and then your door barns, okay? The engine. So let's add a light. So I'm going to add a light, and I'm going to add a rect light, okay? I'm going to go to lead so I can see what I'm doing. And at the moment, you can see my light is facing the wrong way. So let's rotate it 180. And hopefully you will be able to see. It's hard to see because I'm not on 0, so I'm going to make sure that I put it on 0 and then drag it out. There we go. I'm going to bring it up for now. At the moment it's quite bright, but that's fine. We're going to control that in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to bring my feet back up, my measuring. I'm going to go to my, let's go right view. I'm going to bring this up to about the top of that, so then I know we're in the right place. Okay, that's about 250. That's okay. Okay, I think it's 251. There we go. I'm gonna go back to my perspective view, and what you're gonna be able to see now is just plain. There's nothing going on, but you can see the cache light, and this is important always to have a cache light on your eyes. Without a cache light, your character is gonna look dead. So this little bit of light, that's a cache light, and you can tell what kind of lighting you're using because of the cache light. Right, so I want to rotate it down, so I'm going to bring it down a bit. 40, let me just change this to 5 degrees, and then that's about 45 degrees. Yep. And we can look, and it's already creating that nice butterfly on it. I'm gonna maybe move it a tiny bit forward because I think that's too far away. And you can see right away the cheekbones are starting to pop out. And yeah, the butterfly is starting to form. Okay. What we were saying earlier, I'm gonna change this to lumens. Again, we have no control yet of the lighting because we've not set it up yet, so it's fine. Attenuation radius, I'm gonna control this. See how far I want it to go. Because I'm only focusing on her face, I'm gonna go about 200, so it's doing half the body. And then this is important. I like to work with softboxes like if they were in the real world, so then it feels like more realistic to me. So I'm gonna go to something like sword width, let's make it 60. And then the height can be about 90. So if it was like a normal softbox, okay? There we go. And then what also I want is if it was like a cover, so we're gonna use the barn doors to not spread the light so much around everywhere. So I'm gonna put it like to 35. And I think the width is fine. Maybe I'll make it a tiny bit longer, so about 30 on width, okay? So if I were to look at it from here, you can see now I have the butterfly going on and it seems to be working, okay? It feels like if it was a actual soft light. So I'm gonna save all again. And what I want next is to have a camera to see what I'm actually doing. So, same way, quick cut, cinematic, cine camera actor, okay? Reset it to 0. Bring it forward. I'm gonna rotate it minus 180. Okay, and I'm gonna bring it up. And you can see we're gonna get to a certain area now. So let's talk about cameras for a minute. I'm not expecting you all to know a lot about cameras, but one thing that I like to do is link it more to reality. So most people know what a DSLR shot looks like, so let's go with that. So where it says film back, let's make it a full frame DSLR. Okay. And I like to use either 50, that's normally for something that looks like the real world. So our eyes are about 50 millimeters, but best looks for portraits is normally 85. So I'm gonna go with an 85 millimeter focal length, okay? And lastly, I'm gonna give it a tiny bit more aperture. So aperture is how much depth you're gonna have. So I'm gonna have about 1.8 for depth. And at the moment you can see it's all blurry and you cannot see nothing. We'll fix that in a minute. All I'm doing is trying to sort the angle of my camera so we can see A good way of doing it, if we go to again to the right view, I'm going to bring it really close. And I'm going to estimate where her eye level is. Again, so that's about there. And then I know my camera is on eye level, okay? The shots I want to do are going to have a tiny bit of shoulder, so that's fine, like if it was a professional shot. And I'm going to go back now to my perspective view. Of course, I'm well out of focus, so let's fix that. Under the search part, we can search for focus. Which I could spell, but yeah, focus. Moments of manual. We can click on this little sample scene, depth from the scene. I'm going to click on her eye. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you can click on this deep, draw debug focus. So it's going to create a pane, and you can see where I am. As I get closer, everything's in focus. I just want whatever's in there to be in focus. It's about 140 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to put it to 140 and see what happens. I think that seems okay. Yep, it looks okay to me. All of her face is in focus, okay? Okay, that's done. Let me clear that. Oh, I forgot to turn this off. Okay, so she's in focus now. Right, next thing is I want to create all of the other lights. So I know by looking at this, we have a nice butterfly shape. Next one was loop, right? So I'm going to rename this light first, and I'm going to call it butterfly. So I'm going to grab it wherever it is, down here. I'm going to press Alt on my keyboard, and I'm going to drag it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm going to call this one loop. Okay. And remember what loop was? It was about 2 feet above eye level. So let me turn the 3 down, 2 feet above eye level. Let me go back to my right view. It's about there. Yep. Seems about right. Okay. So 2 feet above eye level. And then a bit more to the side and in an angle, right? So for this, I'm going to select my camera so I can see what's going on. If I want to see more of my camera, we can view it from the actual camera. So it's in the camera actor, so we can see what's happening. I'm just going to try not to move or else I'll lose this angle, which I kind of like. So loop lighting at the moment is at 221, which seems okay. This will move it, as you can see, up and down. Okay, and this will move it left and right. Okay. So I'm going to try to move it to a corner. And I'm going to try to move it a tiny bit further away, as you can see. So about 100. So about a meter away. And you can see the little loop that's starting to form. And I'm going to play with my light. We can also rotate it to maybe let me see what I'm doing. What's my light doing? Okay, maybe I want to rotate it a tiny bit on the set value. Let's see. Yeah. I've added about 30 degrees on that. Now when we look at that through the camera again, you can see the nice loop that is kind of formed now. If you go too far, then you're going to Rembrandt, which we don't want, okay? We want it more as a loop on the nose. So you can see the loop there. That's about right. So we have the second one, which is your loop. We got loop, we got butterfly. So I'm going to do the same as I did before. W, Alt, drag. Excuse me. I'm going to name this one Rembrandt. I'll put it Ren for short. Okay, so Rembrandt, remember, it was about a foot from your head. So again, I'm going to use the same technique. I'm going to go turn off the number 2. I'm going to grab my light. I'm going to try to align it as best as I can. I'm on 100, so I know where I am. So about there, and then go back to 100. Okay. I'm going to go back to my perspective mode. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go back to the camera. And I want to grab my light again. And I'm going to start moving it now. So rotation, I think is fine. It's just where I want it. So as you can see, I start moving it. And you can see the triangles start forming. I want both lights to be, both eyes, I want both eyes to be on light. That's what makes it Rembrandt, and then you can see the triangle. I think it's not gone far away. I wonder if I can just rotate it a tiny bit more to create the effect I want. So maybe 165, so that's 45 degrees angles on it. And then I'll just move it a tiny bit closer. Okay. So minus 140 will do, I believe. Ooh. I'll put 1000 minus 140. Okay. So you can see it's create a nice effect on the face. Oh, it's close, but I don't think it's closing, do you? No. So let's go back. Remember, lighting is a lot of testing and playing around. So in the camera actor, I'm just gonna move it back a tiny bit so we can close that. So minus 150, I think will do. No, 150. There we go. So yeah, we have nice Rembrandt light here. Okay. Next is your side lighting that we were talking about earlier. So I'm gonna come out of my camera at the moment. I'm gonna grab this light and I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Alt and dragging it down a bit. I'm going to turn off the Rend 2 and call this one side. Don't know why I put a interrogation sign there. Side. Okay. For this, I wanted to go back to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and I'm going to rotate it again. It's just easier to do this. W to move it up. And I want to rotate it to one of the sides. So I'm going to use the right side this time. So I think 90 degrees will do it. Okay. Now I'm going to turn also the little box off because we don't need it anymore. I want to make sure that we can see that we are at eye level, which we're not. So there, that's our eye level. Go back to perspective, and then I'm gonna go and see my camera. So and from here I'm just gonna move it to the side. Okay, so let's carry on moving it. And I just want it to be half the face on light, the other half not in light. Okay, so you can see it there, right? I think it looks okay. Yes, so we have our side lighting. Again, this is really bright, but I don't want it so bright. Also, if let's say you wanted it closer, all we will have to do is just lower the attenuation radius to see how far it's affecting it. So maybe 100. A bit less, 80. 90. So we can see a tiny bit of light, kind of trying to pop in there. Okay, so we have our side lighting. I think 80 might do 85. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so yeah, we have our side lighting now. While I'm on my Rembrandt, I'm going to duplicate it again. I'm gonna call this one ring lighting. I'm gonna turn off my Rembrandt and I have my rim. I'm gonna go to 0, 0, 0 because that's where I need it to be right now. And again, 0, 0, 0. This is handy because I'll need it to be straight, so that's fine. Put it behind the subject. Put it behind the subject again. Let me go back to my camera. Grab your rim light and just move it up. See where you want it. So I know my eye level's about there, so a tiny bit above eye level. So about minus 90 will do. So about there-ish. So yeah, minus 160 will do. Okay. Hope that makes sense up till there. And then what I'm going to do, lights I'm not going to change yet. The power, nothing changing that there. And then it's going to lower the attenuation radius a bit. So I think 180 might do it. Yeah. So still separating the background, but without doing much. Okay. So the next thing that I want to talk about is post-processing volumes. Okay. Because I want to control my lighting even further. Make sure it's unmovable. Okay, so we're going to go to Add, Volumes. I'm going to look for post-processing volume, right? First thing that I want to do, I'm not going to go and try to find it. I'll usually go to General. And if you go down, you'll see it, Infinite Bound Extent. So it means that anything that I do is going to apply to all of this in. This is handy for me because I have nothing else in my background, but sometimes you just want to scale this box to whatever your environment is. I'm going to go into my all again, into General. I'm going to go under Exposure. And the one thing that I want to do is I want to click on Metering Mode. And I want to go into Manual, so I can control the light myself, okay? And one more thing that I want to do is I want to control my camera. And you can see right away my lighting changed completely. So I want to go and control all of this. So my shutter speed, I'm going to imagine that I'm hand-holding this camera, and anything under 80 will catch and make it blurry. So I'm going to be safe. I'm going to call it to 1/125th of a second. That's going to be how fast my curtain closes. My ISO, I'm going to leave it at 100 so it's a clean image. My aperture, I'm going to put it to 2.8. So that's close enough, but it does give a nice blur background. And then maximum aperture, let's go to f22. And then diaphragm. So I don't know if you've seen the bokeh, when something's out of focus, the more blades you're going to have, it's going to be more circular. So I'm going to go about 12. 12. Okay. And that's all I really want to do with my post-processing volume for now. Remember, this is only going to work for things that are not moving a lot. This is really just for nice shots. Okay? Static shots. So, if you go to my light again, I'm going to go to my camera really quickly. You can see it's very dark. So I'm going to go back to our slide so I can explain a tiny bit more about what I'm going to be talking about. So we've done this. So how does the lighting work then? So I'm going to imagine that the lights that I'm using are an LED monolight. Okay. I don't know if you see monolights. When you go to a photography studio, you see them big round lights, like cylindrical looking. Those are monolights. Okay. So let's go a tiny bit into what lumens LM actually is. Is the total visible light output as perceived by the human eye. So actually what we can see as light itself. Watt is how much power is actually consuming. So if we give an example, right? If a light source has a efficacy of 100 lumens per watt, this will mean that a 10-watt light will produce 1,000 lumens, okay? Which is multiplying. So this allows comparison of the energy efficiency of different lighting technologies. So LED, incandescence, and fluorescence. So if we look at this, right? And the incandescent bulb will do 10 to 17. Halogen, 15 to 20. A compact fluorescent light will do about 50 to 70. A fluorescent tube will do about 90 lumens per watt. LED lamp, which is the one I'm going to be using, but it's a bit different on monolights, but same concept. It's about 100 to 120 lumens per watt. A metal halide lamp is 65 to 115. And lastly, high pressure sodium lamps is about 85 to 150 lumens per watt. Okay? So, if I go back now to here, one thing that I have not said in these lights is the color temperature, which is very important, and the wattage. So, I'm going to imagine I'm using monolights that are about 250 watts. This will equivalent to 250 times it was 100. It's about 25,000 watts lumens. Sorry, so that's about right. And one more thing that I want to do with this light is I want to change the color temperature. So how color temperature works: if the higher the number, the colder it is; the lower the number, the warmer it is. For our purposes, I want to keep to realism. So this light could be about 5,500 color temperature wise. So it'll be about cooler, but not too cool. Yeah. So that's the first one I have. Color temperature, and then lumens, and then 2500. Next, let me go to my loop lighting. Okay. Same. 25000. And then 5500. So if I think the lighting is way too strong, which kind of looks, I can lower it. Instead of using 250 watts on monolights, you can just use a little dial and lower it down. So I think keep the loop to 100 watts, so it's not overexposed, as you can see. Okay. Next is going to be my Rembrandt. Barely see it because it's too dark. So let's start with 250 watts. 1, 2, 3. And very bright, I believe. So let's lower it. I think 250 will be okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. I'm gonna use temperature again. 1500. Nice and cool. And let's do the rim light now. Okay, so 25000. Okay, and again 5500. And lastly, my side light. I think that's okay. And 550. Okay. So one thing I'm noticing on my side light, I think it might be too far on to the side that and to the back that we're not getting any cache lights. So I might be a bit cheeky and just try to move it a tiny bit forward so I can get a tiny bit better cache light. So you can see there. A tiny bit, so I've done about 10. And you can see the nice bright light there now. Okay, Let me just double check all of them again. I think my butterfly is too strong. About 100 watts. I think I like that, actually. Okay, so we have all of our lighting set up. Let me save it really quickly. So we have our color temperature set up. Well, let me zoom out of this. We have our post-processing volume, and we're controlling it all in manual. If we were to turn this off, it will be massively overexposed. So manually this for now. And again, I'm doing these settings for my camera, okay? So next, I might wanna control now my actual face so it looks more realistic. So window, virtual production, and lifelink, okay? And it's gonna show my home as it's active. One thing that I wanna do is I'm gonna need my cell phone. I'm gonna put this to the side for now. I'm going to search for lifelink. And let's see if we can connect it. So let me open my slides really quickly. So you can download lifelink from the App Store, and it's called lifelink face. And when you open it, you want to go into lifelink AR kit, okay? And then follow. Once you go here, you can see your face with a mesh around it. And then you're going to have a little cogwheel here. So we're going to click on that so we can set it up. So one thing that you want to do is make sure that you click on lifelink iPhone. And we're going to put the target, which is going to be the same IP address that you're on the same network. But you're going to put the IP address of your computer so they can find you that way, okay? And one more thing that you will need to create is when you click on this little face here, you click on recalibrate or calibrate if you've not done it before, and then it will allow you to just make sure that your facial expression is neutral, which will allow for better capturing. So now that you can see, I've opened it on my phone. You can see there's a little green dot, and it's being picked up now, okay? I'm going to select my character, and you're going to see right away on the side, it says lifelink. And it's going to say IRKit face subject, which we want to use. I'm going to click on my iPhone. Okay. I want to use IRKit face. And you can see right away, now I'm talking. That's really creepy. I'm talking and you can see my face moving, right? Kind of cool in a way, I think. Hi. Ooh, okay. So I'm going to minimize this for now. Now, I want to capture this. So what's the good of this if we cannot capture it, right? So if we go to window again, and I'm going to go to cinematic. I'm going to use take recorder, okay? It will automatically open this. I'm going to go to my content. I'm going to right click and create a new folder. And I'm going to call this folder cinematic. Okay. And in here, I want to create a new sequence. So cinematic level sequence. If you have different shots, you can create all your shots. But for now, it's just going to be this. So I'm going to call it record. Okay, without the hashtag, please. There we go. Again, I'm going to save it all because, as you can imagine, this program sometimes crashes with lifelink because still experimental. Okay, so I got 24 frames, which is what I'm recording at. I might put on my phone that I wanted to record for 30 frames. Will be fine. Okay. So, okay, you can see me now. Right. So in here, I'm going to click on my tape recorder and I'm going to click on this recording. So that's the one I just had. I don't want my curves open, so that's fine. So this is the one that we just created, which is going to have everything new again. So from lifelink, iPhone, okay, I can see it again. Sometimes your lifelink will stop working. So it might be worth going here and just turning it on and off. Sometimes he just stops it and makes it work again. Okay, so to be able to record is quite simple. We're gonna go into play mode, and then we're gonna go into record. But before I do that, I'm not gonna talk then. All I'm going to do is I'm gonna move my eyes, maybe pose like if I was getting my picture taken, right? So I'm gonna go into play. Oh, one thing I forgot to do was to delete the boxes. So I want to make sure that they're not visible to my render. So I'm going to click on them, visible. I'm going to make sure that they're not visible when they're rendering. Okay, I'm going to click play again. And you can see I'm moving, I'm talking, hey, oh, okay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to record. So I'm going to look at my camera now. I'm going to make sure that I grab it and put it in front of me, like if I was talking to it. I'm going to click on the record button, okay? As you can see, it's going to go. And that's it. Because I only have 150 seconds, 50 frames. It's about 5 seconds of recording, okay? So if recorded it, how simple was that? So I'm happy with that. I can close my take recorder now. I'm gonna go and open my sequencer here. I have my recording here. What I wanna do is look for my recording, which is here. And you can see that's my recording now. What I wanna do is I wanna bring my character in so we can actually bake this animation into the character, so it can actually be usable, okay? So this is quite a simple procedure now. So really what I want to do is I'm going to go into my Vivian BP. I'm going to drag it into my sequencer, okay? That'll take a minute. And when you do this the first time, it's going to load all of the controls. And we don't need them because we already have the recording. So I'm going to click on them and just click delete. I have no controls on them, okay? I'm going to click on my face. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say bake animation sequence. So I'm going to try to transfer all of that recording and data into that face. So I'm going to click on bake animation sequence. I'm going to put it on my cinematic content, cinematic. I'm going to name it face lifelink recording, so I can find it later on, okay? And yes, that's fine. I wanna keep all that, yep, and I'm gonna click export animation. Think it's done it, and that should be it. So I'm gonna save it again. It's always important to save. You don't want to lose your work, so remember to save. And save yourself some time for redoing things over and over again. So now what I can do is, can you see my face here? I can click on this track. I'm gonna attach, click on tracks animation. And the one I just created was face lifelink recording. Remember? I'm going to delete the lifelink one, so we don't need it anymore. And you can see my animations there. Yeah, so literally there. We can go into another tutorial, but it will be, we can actually edit this and control it bit by bit, so we can fine tune it. But for now, like I said, that will be a different tool. We're focusing mostly on just the lighting and the rendering. I have my animation. It's loaded. I'm going to create now. I'm going to close this. And I know I have my animation, so I'm going to close this sequencer. I want to create a new sequencer for just this. So for my render. So on here, I'm going to create a new sequence. Cinematic level sequence. So it'll be ls underscore cinematic. Okay. Not tick. Okay. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to be on selection mode for now. I'm going to save all again. First thing I want to do is bring my camera. We can see right away the camera is there. Do not move outside if this is blue. You can move here, but if you were to move while this is blue, what's going to happen is your camera is going to move with it. So that's not good for us, okay? Because then you have to reset everything and get back to where we were. What I want to do next is I want to add my character, Vivian. Same as we did before. And we want to delete the controls for now. I'm going to go back to selection because I don't need that. While I'm on face, I'm going to click on animation again. And then live link recording, okay? So now you can see I'm here. And it has all my animations that I did. Let's loop it really quickly and you can see it plays well. So that has my butterfly lighting. Let's turn this off. This has my loop lighting. My Rembrandt lighting, which I think might be a tiny bit too low. So let's increase this a tiny bit. 30, 1, 2, 3. That's okay, yes, I like that. Not overexposed. 300 watts, I'm gonna keep it at. But you can see it's still playing, it's working. And then let's see, rim lighting is looking fine. And then your side lighting might be a tiny bit too strong, to be fair. I'm moving the roll light, silly me. Right, side lighting. 12, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it there. Tiny bit strong, but everything else is floating nice. So I like that effect. Double check again my REM light, that's fine. Let me check my loop lighting. Maybe that's too strong now compared to everything else. 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a bit better. So it's not overexposed anymore, okay? And lastly, my butterfly, again, definitely overexposed. So 8, 1, 2, 3. So it's about 80 watts I'm using right now, the power. 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So that looks better. Not overexposed, but fine-tune it. And it's easier to see when you have it all in front and you see it moving. Okay, and you can see my cache lights are working. Cache light is working there. That's also working with my Rembrandt, and it's farther away, but I like that effect. I liked it. I like the look that I'm getting from it. My rim light and then sight. So, one thing to remember, right? I'm just showing you the basis of how to do the classic lighting styles. However, if you wanted to have it more interestingly, you could add another light. So let me just stop this really quickly. And let me just make sure I'm out of my camera. Okay, so I'm out of my camera. There's nothing to say that we couldn't do this, right? So, where are you? So let's say this is my Rembrandt light. I could Alt, grab another one, rotate it. And this could be my field light. I'm going to go half, maybe a bit less than half. I want to see how this looks, right? Okay, so you can see it's looking okay. Let me just bring it closer. Okay, I can see it better now. So I have my Rem 2 at the moment. So this is the one I just created. You can see here, you could control it even further. Right? So it doesn't mean that it has to be dark. It could be just that you're filling in the light, and so it gives you a more interesting effect. So just remember, just because you're using one light doesn't mean you cannot use another light to fill it, and then maybe put your rim in there and just make it more interesting overall, right? That's something to remember. Back to where we were. Okay, Vivian is animated. Moving. That's my Rembrandt. And I'm just going to keep it like that because I'm just doing the classical styles. But again, like I said, use more lights. Just remember, a good rule of thumb is if you're using a field light, make it half the power or less. Okay? Right, so I want to render this now on Rembrandt. Just one thing to remember, it will use all of your lights if you don't turn on visibility off. So I'm just gonna make sure that I have no visibility on the other lights for now, and then I can turn them back on later. Okay, so it's only gonna do the Rembrandt light for now. We're gonna go into, let me save this. We're gonna go into your render queue. So this little button here. And you're gonna see right away the name of the job, sequencer that you're using, and the map that you're using. Simple. We're gonna go into unsafe config for now. And I wanna change this a tiny bit. I don't wanna use a JPEG because I want it to be high quality render. So I'm gonna go into settings and I'm gonna use an EXR image. It's a really high quality raw image. I'm also gonna go and use my camera. Where's camera? Yep. And just make sure that everything's on the center. I'm gonna use console variables. We're gonna go into this one in a minute. But again, where are you? Console variables. And then the last one I wanna use is anti-aliasing. Okay. So I'm not gonna go deeper into this, but I'm just gonna do a quick refresher of it. One thing that I want to do is anti-aliasing. I'm gonna make it tiny bit higher, but I don't want to be here all day, so I'm gonna let it to warm up first. So 32 frames to warm up, and then it will render. That's fine here. Wanna care about this console variables. So console variables are here. So it's just little snippets of code that will allow you to control your render with more precise options. So you can tell like specifically how many, the quality, for example, of your blur or the quality of your image. So for example, one that I like to use, not always, but it's good is r.screen percentage. And once it's there, you can just click on it. And I'm gonna go 120, for example, and you can go higher too. So all I'm saying is within this screen, I'm gonna put 120% of the pixels. So it should be a higher bit of quality in there. I'm gonna choose the motion blur quality too. So for example, it will be R dot, and I'm reading from the side, so sorry if I'm not looking at the camera. R dot motion blur quality. And for this one, I want it to be about 4, and that's about the highest you can go for really good quality of the motion blur. Then we can do R dot motion blur separately, separable. And for this one, I'm gonna have 1. So it's gonna render the motion blur in separate layers. So it just renders the motion blur way better. R dot depth of field quality. Okay. And I'm gonna put this to 4 again. The quality of your depth of field. So how nice is that background difference gonna look? Your bloom quality is also good. So R dot bloom quality, and this is gonna be about 5. Then I could use, and we can go, there's loads, but I'm only gonna use a few. R dot tone mapper quality, and this will be a 5. And I will put a little PDF on the side so you can read what they do. Okay. Our toner quality, then R dot temporal AA upsampling. And this one's going to be 0. I need a few more. Sampling R dot temporal AA current frame weight, and that's gonna be 0.5. Okay. R dot lumen or the lumen.reflections. And I want to use max roughness to trace. Reflections dot max roughness to trace. And this one's going to be 1. I also want r dot shadow dot virtual dot resolution, lower bias directional, and that's gonna be 0. And lastly, r dot shadow dot virtual resolution load bias local. There we go. And that's gonna be 0. One thing that we also want to do is make sure that we set the right location for your render. So I'm going to set it to my desktop for me. It'll be desktop render, select. You can do it 1K or you can go and do it 4K. So what's the 4K size? 3080 something. So 4K resolution, and just very prepared, as you can see. There we go. So it's 3840, 3840, and 2160. Okay. I'm gonna keep it to 24 frames. That's fine. Then again, my render was more for 30 frames, so maybe we'll make it 30 frames. Why not? Okay. So 30 frames. Okay, that's the size. It's all done. So we can click here. And then I don't want to do all of this again, do I? So if we go to unsave queue and we click save queue, I'm saving my content. I'm going to keep it like that. And I'm going to click save. And then make sure that you save all. So what this is going to allow you is if you open it again, you can always load it up again. And then you have to redo it all of it again. And then lastly, all we're going to do is we're going to click render local. And this will take a bit. So there we go. It's doing your warm-up frames. And then it will start rendering your scene. Okay. I'm going to pause it there. So yeah, hope that was useful. And remember, when working with lighting, it is important to observe your image, pay attention to the shadows, and make adjustments based on what you actually see. Just experiment, and that's probably going to be the most efficient way for you to learn. Just have fun while you're doing it too. Anyways, I hope you found this useful, and yeah, thank you.